force broke his skull and caused pieces to go to the front of his temple on both sides. On both sides. Sound like a Hennessy bottle to me, or it sound like something with trauma force that can do your head like that in the back of your head. His back and his head. So let me tell you something. I don't know, and I don't care who don't like my live or who got something to say about Tasha why you did that, because I needed to do that. At the end of the day, nobody ain't in our shoes. We getting attacked back to back. Yes, it is God will. Yes, it's already.
He went on a holiday getaway and never came back alive.
You are next. Let's see. But you didn't really eat your butter like that, so it's like, yeah. Okay, come on. What you gonna do?
No robbery, no public crime scene, no clear answers. Just a man, a broken family, and a story that keeps changing depending on who you ask. This is the death of Tyrone Davis Jr., known online as Stepdaddy Darrow. And once you hear what his own family is saying, you'll understand why people are demanding answers. Before we go any further, if stories like this matter to you, if you believe every unexplained death deserves attention, take 1 second right now, like this video so it reaches more people. Comment your thoughts because your voice keeps these stories alive. Share this with someone who follows true crime. Subscribe to Mystoracrimes and turn on the bell so you don't miss what comes next. Sometimes attention is the only thing standing between silence and truth. Tyrone Davis Jr. wasn't a stranger on the internet. He was a content creator, a father, a man people describe as energetic, funny, and deeply loved. Online, he shared moments of his life that made people feel like they knew him. Offline, he had family, children, and people who now say they're living in shock. In late December 2025, Tyrone went on what was described as a Christmas or holiday getaway, a trip that, on the surface, sounded ordinary, a break, time away. But according to family members, something went wrong during that trip, and whatever happened next is where the story starts to fracture. At first, information was limited. Some people were told Tyrone suffered a medical emergency. Others heard it was an accident. Then family members started speaking out, and the narrative shifted. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a man who passed away. It was about how he died, where he died, and who he was with in his final hours. One of the loudest voices came from within his own family. His cousin, Natasha Davis, went live on Facebook, visibly emotional, telling viewers that what they were being told did not make sense. She said Tyrone did not simply fall. She said his head injury was severe. She used words like blunt force trauma. She made it clear the family believed something violent had happened. As those lives spread, more details began circulating. Claims that Tyrone had been involved in an argument during the trip. Claims that he and his girlfriend were having issues. Claims that he was left outside after an altercation. Claims that he was later found injured. And then the allegation that stopped people cold, that he may have been hit in the head with a bottle. No police report had been released publicly to confirm this. No official autopsy had been shared. But the family wasn't backing down. They were asking questions. They were pointing out inconsistencies. And they were saying one thing over and over again. The story they were given does not explain the condition he was in. And that's where the tension really begins. Because when a family starts saying, this doesn't add up, the question becomes, what exactly are we not being told? As more family members began speaking, the story stopped feeling like a tragedy and started feeling like a mystery with too many missing pieces. According to what relatives were saying online, Tyrone did not return from that trip the way anyone expected. They say the injuries here were not consistent with a simple fall or an accident you could easily explain away. This is where the relationship angle enters the picture, and it's impossible to ignore it because his own family keeps bringing it up. Multiple posts and videos suggest Tyrone and his girlfriend were having problems before and during the holiday trip. Some relatives say there was an argument. Others say the argument happened while they were leaving the location they were staying at. And this is where the accounts start to conflict. One version circulating online claims that after a heated disagreement, Tyrone was left outside, allegedly to cool off. Another version suggests the argument escalated beyond words. Family members say the story they were told kept changing. And when stories change, people start asking why. Then came the Facebook Live that pushed this case further into the public eye. His cousin, Natasha Davis, went live and spoke directly to viewers, not as a distant observer, but as someone grieving and searching for answers. She questioned how Tyrone could have sustained such a serious head injury if nothing violent had occurred. She made it clear that the family believed the injury was caused by force, not an accident.
Force broke his skull and caused pieces to go to the front of his temple on both sides. On both sides. Sound like a Hennessy bottle to me, or it sound like something with trauma force that can do your head like that in the back of your head. His back and his head. So let me tell you something. I don't know and I don't care who don't like my live or who got something to say about Tasha why you did that. Because I needed to do that. At the end of the day, nobody ain't in her shoes. We getting attacked back to back. Yes, it is God will. Yes, it's already written.
Soon after, a more disturbing allegation began circulating. Family-linked posts and discussions claimed Tyrone may have been struck in the head with a bottle during the altercation. That claim spread fast. People started replaying it, reacting to it, asking the same question over and over again. If this is true, why hasn't there been a clear explanation? But here's where things get complicated, and this part matters. There's been no public police report confirming that claim. No official statement saying a bottle was used. No publicly released autopsy explaining the cause of death in detail. Everything being discussed right now is coming from family statements and social media accounts, not from law enforcement. And yet, the family insists something is wrong. They point to what they describe as blunt force trauma. They point to inconsistencies in timelines. They point to explanations that don't align with what they saw or were told later. They are not accusing quietly. They are asking loudly. People online began to split into sides. Some believe the family and say this death deserves a full investigation. Others urge caution, saying nothing has been proven. And then there are viewers just like you, watching from the outside, trying to understand how a man can go on a trip and end up dead with so many unanswered questions. What makes this even more unsettling is the silence from official sources. No arrest. No confirmation of foul play, no denial either, just silence, while the family continues to grieve publicly and demand clarity. And silence in cases like this often speaks louder than words. Because if nothing happened, why does the story keep unraveling? And if something did happen, who knows the truth?
With emotions right now. It is a big deal. As y'all know, my nephew has lost his life by the situation after a Christmas event, just trying to love on a woman unconditionally like no other. And when I tell you he did it, no other person can do it better than him when it comes to how to treat a lady. He wasn't fake, he wasn't phony, he always been real. That Leo in him is a leader, a go-getter, a dresser, and know how to take care of his kids and love on his woman. And when I tell y'all it wasn't just for no social media, that was him, whether it was a holiday, whether it was a regular day, he treated her with the utmost romantic special love. And that's how he do his family, not just the mama, not just the daddy, not just the aunties. My nephew was that guy, a shining light from up above. God made him different. He walked around different, full of love, full of laughs, full of goals. And when I tell you that's for the smile that he brought with it, because it wasn't nothing but love when he walked into a room. It is a big deal. And this is what I gotta say about this situation that got us all mixed up until we get rest. And let me tell you something. Before we start anything, before I even came on this live, we started off in prayer, because you best believe we know the man up above. And as much as you say you know to God, go to God, we done did that and we still doing that. And some of us, it's hard to pray when you in them shoes. It's hard to talk to God when you in them shoes. And if you ain't been in them shoes, humble yourself, pipe down, because you can't speak on nobody's family. Now I want to address this. But why the auntie got something to say? Because guess what? It's one voice. And when big dog Tyrone in the building, he got a daddy. He say, take off, Tasha. And guess what? That's what I'm going to do. That's what we going to do. We going to stand together. One more time, I'm going to show y'all. And let me tell you, this family got some goons. But because we know God is going to handle this situation, he going to fix it. And when I tell you Jesus going to well fix it, that the truth shall come forward. And guess what? Revenge is his, and it's going to happen. You best believe we going to get justice. You best believe we ain't laying down until justice comes, because that's how we built. We've been strong for this death situation come. This is how our family rock. Anytime, anyway, whether it is the good or the bad, we always got each other back. You know why? Because we supposed to. And this just made us go 20 times stronger about this situation.
This is the point in the story where everything feels like it should finally make sense. But instead, it gets even more disturbing. Because the more people listened to what the family was saying, the clearer it became that this wasn't just grief talking. They were pointing to specific things that didn't line up. Family members began questioning timelines. When exactly did the argument happen? Was Tyrone last seen conscious? Who was with him during those final moments? And why did different people seem to give different versions of the same night? These weren't emotional questions. They were logical ones. Then came the alleged breakthrough that shook viewers. In follow-up conversations and shared clips, family-linked accounts suggested Tyrone wasn't just injured and left alone. They claimed he was found in a condition that indicated he had suffered a serious head injury before being abandoned. Again, no official confirmation. But the family kept repeating the same point. The injury was too severe to ignore. This is also where the medical explanation some people heard early on started to clash with everything else. At one point, a narrative circulated that Tyrone suffered a medical emergency, but family members pushed back hard on that. They said a medical issue does not explain blunt force trauma. It does not explain the state he was found in, and it does not explain why so many details seem to change depending on who was telling the story. Viewers started asking questions in real time. If he was injured during an argument, why wasn't help called immediately? If he was left somewhere, why? If there was nothing to hide, why hasn't there been a clear, official explanation released to the public? These are not accusations. These are questions. And unanswered questions are what turn a tragedy into a true crime story. The alleged bottle strike became the center of that tension, not because it was proven, but because it kept coming up. Family members said they heard it from people close to the situation. Supporters repeated it. Comment sections filled with the same concern. And still, no one with authority stepped forward to confirm or deny it publicly. At the same time, the family began organizing vigils, sharing posts, and asking people not to let Tyrone's name fade away. They weren't asking for assumptions. They were asking for transparency. They wanted someone to explain how a man could leave on a holiday trip and come back in a body bag with injuries no one could properly account for. And that's the twist that makes this case so unsettling. There's no dramatic arrest, no press conference, no official closure, just a growing gap between what the family believes and what the public has been officially told. So now the case sits in a strange place, not officially labeled crime, not officially ruled an accident in detail, just suspended in uncertainty, while the people who love him the most keep asking the same question. What really happened to Tyrone Davis Jr. in those final hours? And who knows the full truth but isn't speaking? And this is where the story stops being about rumors and starts becoming about responsibility. Because whether this was an accident, a medical emergency, or something darker, one thing is undeniable. Tyrone Davis Jr. S family is still without clear answers. They say they've been left to piece together the final hours of his life through fragments, conversations, and shifting explanations. Imagine losing someone you love, and then realizing that no single version of events fully explains what happened to their body. Imagine being told to accept a story that doesn't match the injuries you were shown. That's the position his family says they are in right now. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Silence creates suspicion. Not because silence proves guilt, but because silence leaves room for doubt. When no official report is shared publicly, when there is no clear timeline released, when families are forced to speak out on social media just to feel heard, people begin to ask questions naturally. Was there an argument that went too far? Was there an injury that should have received immediate help? Did fear, panic, or pride delay a call that could have changed everything? Or is this a tragic case of misinformation spiraling while the real answers sit quietly in a report no one has seen yet? The allegations involving a bottle strike, the claims of blunt force trauma, the reports of him being left alone after an argument, all of these remain allegations. But allegations don't come from nowhere. They come from confusion, from gaps in the story, from a family that believes the truth hasn't been fully told. And then there's a psychological side of this case that people don't talk about enough. How well do we really know what happens behind closed doors in relationships? How often do arguments escalate in ways no one plans for? And how many times does a single moment change everything? Not because someone intended harm, but because no one stopped to think about the consequences. If Tyrone's death was an accident, then why hasn't that accident been clearly explained? If it was a medical issue, why do his injuries raise so many questions? And if there is nothing to hide, why does his family still feel like they're fighting to be heard? This is where I turn it to you. Do you think unanswered questions are enough to demand an investigation? Do you believe families should accept explanations that don't sit right with them? And at what point does silence become part of the problem? Most importantly, if this were someone you loved, would you stop asking questions? If this story made you think, make sure you like this video so more people see it. Drop a comment with your thoughts because discussion keeps these cases alive. Share this story so it doesn't disappear into silence. Subscribe to Mystoracrimes for more true crime discussions, and turn on the bell so you never miss what we uncover next. Because some stories don't end when a life is lost. Some stories begin there,